Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another LLP Live. This is episode 4. Today we are joined by indie game dev Anthony
Anthony, yes, that's my
Anthony
name.
Cloudy. I know him as Cloudy. Never say his
Yeah.
first name. Cloudy, who is a indie game dev based in Tokyo. And yeah, we're going to get into a bunch of questions about his background, what he's doing now, how you might want to start developing your own games, and yeah, what is the future for Anthony Cloudy, and all of his game projects. So let's get into it. Cloudy,
Yeah.
good evening.
Good evening. So
So
good getting to talk with you.
I
Thanks so
should
much,
say that
man.
yeah, this is not the first time for us to talk. We chat quite a lot. We meet up and
Mhm.
talk all the time. So
Yeah,
yeah, definitely not the first time. But it's
mhm.
the first time that we're recording it. So
That's true.
yeah.
It's for this is the first episode of our future podcast, I imagine.
There we go. All right. So I think you can see my screen now.
Mhm.
I can't see the chat or anything. So let me just get that open there. Okay. One
Yeah.
second, just setting up my screen. Move those guys over here. I've also got Discord open. So my boy wants to come and listen in too. Tom, you going to join us? You don't have to say anything. I've got your headset set up and
Yeah.
everything. You can just,
Tom, you're welcome to listen.
yeah, just come in and have a look. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yep. So this evening, we've got Martin from LLP as well, just manning the Discord and the links and things like that. So if there's anything that pops up, Martin, just let me know, and I'll deal with it promptly. Okay. We've also got this document that I've created with some questions for Cloudy. And you are free. Oh, yeah, that's what you're looking at right now on the screen.
Yep.
At the very bottom, there is audience questions. If anything comes up during the chat that you'd like to ask Cloudy, please,
Mhm.
you don't even need to add your name, but if you want to, you can add your name and
Oh,
whatever
they need
question.
to add their name. If it's anyone from my community, they should add their name. So if they say anything inappropriate, I can ban them. I invite along a bunch of my chat members from and my community members from Abyssal. So
Excellent.
uh,
Love
you
it. We're
guys
going to be
feel free
talking
to ask
about Abyssal
questions.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Just make sure to keep them respectful.
I can't say I'll be doing the same.
I know you won't.
Right, so let's get into it. So,
Mhm.
Cloudy, tell me about your background. How did you get into game dev?
Yeah. So easiest answer is that I was 5 years old and I got a Game Boy for Christmas, and it had like Pokemon. I think it was like red or blue or yellow. I can't remember exactly which one.
Hmm.
Um, but the rest was history. It just was like I want to do something with games at this point.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what I was going to do, and so just kind of the rest of my, time growing up was just playing tons and tons of games, um, especially games made in Japan,
Hmm.
which will lead into later of like why I moved out here. Um, but we eventually like got uh, I did a little bit of computer science in high school, but I went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, for my undergraduate, but specifically because they had a graduate level game development program that I thought was really good. And so I wanted to be a part of that. Um, and so one of the things, so I got my bachelor's in computer science,
Hmm.
and then I got my master's in it's like a master's of interactive technology with a specialization in game programming, kind of like a mouthful for
Interesting.
a
That's at the
degree.
same university? The one is
Yes, it was both at SMU. But this program was just awesome.
right,
So
right.
I went for that. And they have that like kind of big title just to make sure that like if you wanted to get like poached by Pixar or something to do like 3D, you had a lot of the skills that would
Hmm.
uh, cross over. Um, yeah,
So,
and then I think if you want to talk about like my professional career, I actually started in college. I worked for a small indie game studio called Fractal Fox, and they shipped titles. But the secret about Fractal Fox was that it was actually all game developers who wanted to get into the industry,
hmm.
and so they banded together to create their own company. Nobody made any money from the games. All the money went back into like the next project, and
Hmm.
everyone worked for free to keep shipping games, so that by the time that I got into grad school, like on my first project, they were like, "Okay, so why are you here? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
didn't you
Hmm.
already make it?" And it was like, "No." So pretty funny.
Are
Um,
Fractal Fox still a thing, or was it just a
I
temporary?
it was around, I think, for like it was at least like 5 or 10 years. Um, the founder like ended up getting hired at Apple to do like their like I think something with AR, like something really big, and then they like had to, as joining, like shut it down. So unfortunately, it's not still around.
Hmm.
Um, but all the memories are, and the people are still here. So
So to ask the same question, then
Mhm,
you were kind of making games with
mhm,
Fractal Fox as an undergrad. Then why did you decide to do an MA? What was the
mhm.
impetus to do that?
Yeah. So I would say that a lot of the problems that you learn in computer science aren't necessarily the problems that you learn, like that you need to solve in game development.
Hmm.
There's a lot of overlap, but especially if you want to go into the AAA games industry, like work on a Call of Duty or work on something, those are all like custom C++ engines, and you need to know like all the ins and outs to be able to function in that environment. And so there was more than enough to fill in for 2 years of extra
Mm.
studies to be able to kind of get up to speed and be able to do it. But it was a good enough education that like when I started on the Minecraft team, they like put me in like the completely wrong role, like the my worst subject, and I was like still able to survive
Hmm.
and make ends meet and like be productive because they give you such a holistic view of everything for the game development.
Yeah.
Um, I think everyone who's graduated from that program says that like it was like the kind of experience that you would never trade away for anything, but none of us would ever do it again because it's
Mm.
like super intense. So
Amazing.
yeah,
I actually have a couple of questions based on it.
go for it.
It kind of
Mhm,
goes into this section, but so a couple of questions then, as an educator and someone that's not
mhm,
familiar with hiring processes in the,
mhm,
the game development market, whatever. Would you say now to me,
mhm,
I'm going to expect a negative answer here, but
mhm,
would you say that to be a game dev
mhm.
professional, you need a master's at least? Do you think it's an essential
Mhm.
certificate? No. Okay.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this one I would like to say is like there's multiple paths into the industry,
Right.
right? Um, you can forge your own path. You can go through college, get something that, have somebody else like kind of show you the direction, right? But ultimately there's plenty of ways to get into the industry. One of
Right.
the best engineers that I ever worked with, Tommaso Keiki, um, like was almost entirely self-taught, dropped out of college, just used the internet and forums to learn how to
Mm.
program, and then learned how to make games, and then got like Forbes 30 under 30 for Minecraft, like doing Minecraft mobile because he just did it. So like I do not want to gatekeep
Right.
getting into game development
Mm.
whatsoever. Um, but I will say that like for somebody like me who like this was the path that I wanted to take. I
Yeah.
I didn't have to get a master's. There's now bachelor's programs that exist. Um, I do think it's kind of it is a little bit difficult to like try and get all the material, getting somebody from like zero to like
Mm.
AAA game developer.
Mm.
Um, and when I'm saying AAA game developer, I'm saying like make it all yourself, build your own engine, that kind of like crazy hard problem.
Yeah.
Um, but when I'm talking about like doing game development, like in 4 years, absolutely you could. Um,
Hmm. Maybe
but
maybe
I
a
think,
bachelor's then is enough, would you say?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's programs that do bachelors.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for me and like what I was going into, I wanted to make sure that if something didn't happen, I'd still have the
Hmm.
computer science degree to fall back on.
Yeah, it makes
So
total
that's why I went
sense. Yeah.
that
I
way.
was going to say then my second question then is
Mhm,
so what did your other cohorts do
mhm,
after they graduate? What was the general kind of paths that people went
mhm,
into if you know
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit. I'll talk about my cohort
Yeah, sure.
because half of us actually got bought up by Gearbox. So
Huh.
we had a two team projects.
Uh-huh.
Um, by the way, for everyone in chat listening, Dawn was the one I worked on. It's free on Steam. You can go play the game that I did for my like capstone project in grad school.
Hmm.
Um, it is way shorter than I would have liked it to be, but um, I think it's had a good impact for the people who've played it. So,
Wow.
but that was not the one that Gearbox wanted. Gearbox wanted this entire other team that did a VR thing, because
Uh-huh.
Gearbox was trying to get into VR at the time, and so they were like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you literally just have like you know 10 people who just shipped a VR game, so we're just gonna go and get them all a contract job." Um, so for me, I ended up because I'd done a bunch of internships at Microsoft. On my last internship, I'd networked through a Herculean effort to get onto the Minecraft team and like get in
Mm,
front of the hiring manager, get
mm.
that interview and nail it. So for me, I already had a path set out by the time that things were going. But I would
Okay.
say that I don't even know like the percentages, but
Mm,
like just a lot of people went to good studios,
yeah.
and almost all of them were AAA or and then it's like kind of like now people are like bouncing around. Some people would go back to like other industry jobs if they couldn't
Mm,
get um, a game dev job. But I think that for the most part, like our school is pretty good, and so most people ended up
mm.
getting placed out of college.
Just what was the school name again?
Southern Methodist University, and the program is called the Guildhall.
Just writing some notes here.
Mhm.
University, the Guildhall. So it seems then that your experience with edu so for Cloudy's
Mhm.
server friends that are not familiar with what Ludic language pedagogy is, we are basically teachers and researchers that are interested in the intersection of games and education, with a particular focus on language, but it's shifting more and more towards other subjects as well. So that's why I'm so interested in this particular topic. Um, so this is a fantastic part of the degree that I think you got here was that you just mentioned that as part of your, was it bachelor's or master's
Mhm.
degree that you actually shipped a game to Steam?
It was masters.
Right, right. Was,
Um,
was that a
mhm.
requirement to
Yes,
actually? Uh, you
that
see,
was our capstone, and,
that's
and
just
actually
wonderful.
it was the
Yeah.
first year that they actually started doing the ship to Steam,
Yeah.
because there's kind of a bit of like legal stuff that they had to like figure out of like who owns the game and that sort of
Right.
stuff. It was like
Okay.
the sort of like top down like
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to figure out how to navigate this kind of thing with
Yeah.
students. Um, but basically, our production team, the
Mm,
people who did the production jobs, if in other tech roles they call them project managers.
yeah.
In games, they call them producers.
Mm,
Um, and they're because we're games industry is kind of like a hybrid of tech and Hollywood at the same time. Like you get a little bit of both. So
mm.
there's like, because it is, development and art at the same
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. For
right?
sure.
Technology and art. Um, so it was like we were the guinea pigs for it. But I
Mm,
think it was really important that they release the games on Steam for free,
mm.
because that just got the students way more exposure. Like
Yep.
there's
Yep.
like I'll tell you that I wasn't very proud of our capstone project for reasons that I won't get into.
Hmm.
But most of it was just like a lot of like
Mm.
stupid things where it was kind of like me telling the team like, like why are we about to make the same mistake that like our professors told us not to do, and then we just did
Mm.
it, and then had like production problems. Um, but I do
Yeah.
think that like seeing the community reaction to that, like
Mm.
all the people, there was like one of these reviews at the time that was like in Chinese, and one of the guys on our team like translated it for us, and he was like, "Yeah, this guy cried playing this game," and I'm like, "It's like it's like 30 minutes long. Like
Yeah.
who's crying at this?" But
But more than that,
also,
though, like the point
yeah,
is that you were required to actually produce something and put
do
it
it
out into the world, right? You shipped a product.
exactly.
That's a fantastic
Mhm,
experience, and I
mhm.
guess employers are going to be looking at that straight away as like, oh,
100%.
th this guy's actually done something. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
compared to general software industry,
Yeah.
you have to ship
Well,
products
there we
in
go then.
games.
If you, so,
Yeah.
listeners, if you want to go to university, the good thing about it is maybe not the skills that you learn,
Hmm.
but you're forced to ship a game,
Hmm.
and that is a skill that
Yeah.
is super important in the
Hmm.
game industry, right?
Completely agree.
Yeah,
Because
interesting.
there's so much minutia and nuance and things that you have to do, all of the little pain in the ass things that you've
Are we
got
going to the door
to
problem
get that.
already?
The which problem?
The
Oh,
door problem?
oh yeah, not the door problem yet. No, like I can't get into it, but
Yeah,
but yeah, no, that's the kind of thing is that there's so many little things that are required to get something from tech demo to shipped,
yeah.
that has to be its own skill. You
Mm,
have to learn that,
mm.
right? Um,
All right, so we're
so
gonna just in the
mhm.
because of
Interest of
time.
time. Go
Yes,
for it.
that's it. The interest of time. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
We've not even got here yet. So what did you do
Mhm.
after you graduated?
Yeah, I went to
This is
Minecraft.
a large part of your
Yeah.
professional development
Mhm.
right here. So yeah, what did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I worked for 4 years on the Minecraft team. Two of those years were on the vanilla gameplay team, and the other 2 years were spent on the Minecraft Education Edition team. Um, and then after that, I really had the itching to go indie. So I quit my job, moved out to Tokyo, and then started getting a company set up here. Um, I now own three companies, and it's embarrassing and it
Can I have
sucks with
one?
all the paperwork, but go ahead.
Can I have one?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'll do the taxes for me and
Uh,
all of the paperwork, oh my gosh.
okay, you can keep them. You can keep them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, so we just skipped through quite a lot of your life right there, but yes, so working for Microsoft and well, actually for the for
Mhm.
Mojang itself
Yes.
before
Both
it
are
was
correct, by the way. Um,
interesting. Before it was bought by Microsoft.
no, it was bought by Microsoft in
Okay.
2014. So I was interning at the time,
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, wait, I could actually like work on this game that I really like,
Mm-mm.
right out of college. So I was like, that's my goal.
Yeah.
So the acquisition helped me a lot for kind of figuring out where I wanted to go with game dev,
Mm.
at least to start.
All right. Well, look, we're gonna I don't know how much you want to talk about that. I guess people,
Mhm.
if anyone wants to hear about this, leave a question
Yeah,
at the bottom.
sounds good.
I'm gonna smash through my questions and then we'll take a break for your questions. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I know about his background and working for Minecraft. You know.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in Tokyo?
Yeah. Um, Long story short is there was kind of a bit of a political reshuffling at Mojang that like eliminated all the gameplay jobs in one fell swoop. And so for me it was like, okay, well, I follow the work to Sweden? Do I like go work for a different Microsoft studio like Rare in England? So there was a lot of like international things on the table. And then when the pandemic hit, I kind of was like, wait, if I'm gonna go move to a country, like uproot my entire life, everything, like just go somewhere I want. And
Yeah,
that was Tokyo. So
yeah.
kind of
So
the
it was just
rest is
your
history.
choice, basically. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
I'm gonna go, I was young enough, I'm still young, but
still
young enough at
young.
the
Oh,
time.
baby, mate, baby.
Yeah. But young enough at the time that I just like if I'm gonna go somewhere and do this, really do it, then do something I want to instead of following some money or something like that.
Yeah. So totally indie now, right?
Yep.
Yep. What do you do
I
now?
Yeah, I would say that so now I obviously work on all those games for those different companies.
Yep.
Um, so I do Drag and Drop, um, which is my own personal indie game. And then I fell into like Roblox consulting and my own Roblox games. So right
Tell us about
now,
that. I think this is a wonderful story.
oh
Like,
yeah,
how
the
how did you start consulting for Roblox development?
yeah, yeah. So I ended up basically when I was doing this big move, I wanted to go full indie, and so I needed to find financial stability.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies, my roommate at the time, Jello Man, for everyone in chat, his name is Ryan for all the other people. Um, my buddy Ryan ended up his brother made work at a pizza place. Which does not sound like much, but it's like one of like there's probably still like 8,000 people on like right now pretending to be pizza place workers, uh, glued to their iPads, right?
Mm.
Um, and it's still like a crazy popular game. And so basically, like they had already had like this kind of success, and he was getting into it with Journey to the Sun, and both him and his buddy Luik Luxumbra were both, they'd already made Next Reality Games. They'd shipped one indie game before, and then we're getting into Roblox, and they had Journey of the Sun out. It had been successful, and then they were trying to look for like ways to update it, and they ended up being like, "Hey, like if you want to help us out with this." There's a little bit more to that story, but this is just the short version of basically started off doing some contracting, and then it was like, well, let's just deal you into the company one third.
But that's
Um,
not how you started consulting for
and
Roblox, though.
that's getting
Yeah.
there, getting there.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
So started that. I then had drag and drop, and I was demoing it at
There
Bit
we go.
Summit in
Okay.
Kyoto.
Yeah.
And then some Japanese businessmen came up to me and they were like, "Hey, your game's great. Do you know about this like Roblox thing?" And then I was like, "Yeah, like my, I explained like that exact story of,
Yeah.
it's something that I did part time to make sure I didn't have all my eggs in one basket."
Yeah.
They come back to me a month later and they're like, "There is nobody in the country who knows any of
Yes.
this shit. Please help us."
Mm.
Um, and so then I started consulting for them. I got Next Reality Games hired on retainer for them. Um, this company is Geek Out,
Mm.
for folks in the chat who know that. And so basically, we help them out. We answer a bunch of questions and then also get to make games together with them, um,
Yeah.
including. So both Toast Your Friends is one that we've made, but then the most recent one is we made a game with Noda Crystal uh, from Yoshimoto that
Yep.
is making fun of Nobu from Chidori, also from Yoshimoto.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, so we just made a shitpost game about beating up a giant comedian. So it was a lot of fun
Yeah,
working
it's
on that.
it's kind of hilarious that you came to Japan just at the right time then really for that kind of wait, Tom, for that because like
Mhm,
they said nobody in the country is
mhm.
really doing Roblox stuff and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I can do
Mhm,
that. So yeah. It
mhm,
just shows you how out of the Roblox scene
mhm.
Japan was at that point in time. I guess it's growing now,
Yeah.
you know.
It's growing, and
Yeah.
it's Geek Out's been helping that. Geek Out's been trying to
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
poke that fire, so I'm partially responsible, but not wholly at all.
Mm. All right, last question from me before we jump into audience questions then. So
Yeah.
got to ask what games and then what ludic objects. So ludic
Hmm.
objects here meaning a broad swath, like a spectrum of things, right? If games are like
Hmm.
one part of the spectrum, well, digital games are one
Hmm.
part. Maybe games,
Hmm.
including board games and card games, expand that spectrum. But
Hmm.
then you can think of like playful things, playground
Hmm.
games, just anything that's kind of playful at all. Like what kind of things do you like?
Yeah.
Of course, you can
So
start with games. Like it's
yeah, I'll
okay.
start with video games,
Yeah, yeah.
obviously. I mean, I like Smash Brothers, almost anything that Nintendo puts out. Um,
Almost
I
anything. So that may I ask him what you don't like from
oh,
Nintendo?
I mean, it's just mostly like just the stuff that I have chances to play,
Fair
right?
enough, fair enough. Yeah.
It's, one life. You don't get a you
Yes,
can't
yes,
play
I
every game
understand.
that's
Yeah.
released. But yeah, I mean like stuff like Smash Bros. Masahiro Sakurai's work is like generally my like tippity top of like this is
Mm,
what peak game design looks like.
mm,
Um, so I mean I could really like dive into that, but I guess I would say like the most things that I spend the most time on would be Smash, Apex Legends, and then recently Rivals of Aether. That's been
mm.
great. Um,
One thing about the Rivals of Aether 2 is that the
mhm.
Smash community seems really positive about it as well.
they because
Like,
because that whole thing is a love letter, right?
yeah, yeah.
By the way, that one of the key devs on that team is from my alma mater, from Guildhall, and
Hey, let's
then
go.
one of the other dudes that he used to be, I think, like my manager just briefly,
Hmm.
but he knows Dan Fernacci personally, so I've got like
Right, right.
two really close connections to that game. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's wild.
yeah, but
So fighting games,
yeah.
what would I say?
Yeah, I would say just like anything that feels good. Like, obviously all the Zeldas, all the stuff. So it's like it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to like
Mm.
say I don't. There's like it's harder to find, or it's easy harder to find games that I don't like or
What's a game
that.
that you like that other people might not like?
Oh, geez.
Or
There's.
might not have heard of at least.
I mean, it's drag and drop easily, but
Let's go.
um, yeah, I think there's
There's a game.
there's
There's a game. I know what
yeah,
you
there's
could
a,
say.
there's a lot of those. I honestly could be here
What
forever.
what are you
Just
most inspired by?
um, I
He's
mean,
not
obviously
saying the
the
game.
most inspired by is Masahiro Sakurai's work
Yeah,
because
okay,
that's like
of those
like
games.
of those games, I would say the most. Oh, I would say the most like hidden of them
Here we
is
go.
Kirby Air Ride.
There
Kirby
we
Air Ride
go.
completely broke my brain. Everything is all my game design sense got completely like formed from playing that game. And it's looks like a kart racer on the surface, but he had one game mode in there that if you talk to anybody who likes Kirby Air Ride, that's all they talk about, and they won't shut up about it.
And what is this
Um,
game mode?
Oh, it literally was the precursor to battle royales. Like
Yeah.
the guy figured out the formula way before anyone else had, right? 10 years early.
Hmm.
The idea of acquiring stuff on site and trying to, build up this machine.
Yep.
I even wrote my thesis on it. Like it's great.
That's
So
awesome. One for you to check out after the podcast then, guys. Kirby
yeah,
Air
Kirby
Ride.
Air Ride. City Trial is the mode to try
Ah.
it out.
All right, Cloudy,
Mhm,
I get a break, but you don't. So
mhm. I don't.
it's
Yeah.
audience questions. Let's go from the top then. We got two questions here from Martin.
Yeah.
I'll read it out for him. Martin, from a
Mhm,
developer's point of view, how do you feel games have changed over the past years? And in
mhm.
what direction do you think they are going? Hmm.
Yeah. So I think this is a great question. So I think this is going to sound a little bit pessimistic, but the
Yikes.
issue is that we're kind of facing right now is that with the advent of the internet, right, with like there's been a clear shift in games from like the GameCube era prior, where you had to print out your best cartridge, your best disc. It was called going gold when you were like releasing to manufacturing. You didn't get to update the game after that, right? Um, And so as a result, like everything had to be like getting that product to like the bar in the amount of time that you had.
Hmm.
Whereas now you kind of have this more like continual release cycle. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that,
Hmm.
right? But that's kind of why you have this like sort of issue with like people complaining about unfinished games and that sort of stuff. There's a lot more like backlash, and then you have a lot more also like investors getting involved with the games, and they're going to be trying to find like the least path of resistance to get the most money, and that doesn't always align with what players actually want out of a game. And so what I would say is that like yes, you're going to see this kind of like enshittification of like the general games
Enshittification.
industry, right? It's real.
I
It's
know,
a
yeah,
good
I was just thinking where I heard it from. Where maybe you taught
I
me that word, yeah. I heard
I
it
don't
somewhere
think I
before.
did, but I'd be glad if I did. But anyway, um, but the thing that I want you to like that I really want to point out, like with this kind of like this is where things are going and it's doom and gloom, is like like I want you to look at the indies. I want you to look at like indie games because these are people who are making games for the love of games. These are
Mm,
people who are going and doing what they can to avoid, like they still want to sell you one complete package. They want to
mm,
sell you a $5 game and you're gonna get your hours of fun out of that, and
mm,
maybe you'll buy DLC or something, but it generally like starts and ends there, right? You don't have those kinds of investors. And so you really get to see like the people who loved games growing up making the games that they want to now.
mm.
Um,
Is that because
and
like
so
the barrier to entry has been lowered as well then, would you say?
absolutely, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
With the advent of all these public engines that, you just have this golden era of making games. And I think the thing that's really important to like pull up here that I want to like highlight is that like even though, like the industry overall is changing in this direction, right? And there's more people playing games than ever have before.
Mm,
Um, I think that this is the space to watch as somebody who like loves games and loves the craft and that, right? Are these low budget titles that people are making because it's their passion? And I think that's where like the real scene to watch is indie,
mm,
personally, because nobody has to justify making a game about like silly dogs or whatever the hell they want um,
mm.
to some marketing team. They just make it and they get a bunch of followers on Twitter and then people love it. So I think that's something that's worth like keeping an eye on. Um, yeah, I don't know if that necessarily answered more of like the ludic answer that
No,
you might
that's
have
cool,
been
man.
looking for. So I
No, that's great.
apologize, but I think that's like the first thing that comes to mind when it's
Mm.
like things do appear like they're getting better, they're getting worse overall. But I think that if you just have to look a little bit closer to see that like actually there's more games than have ever been
Yeah.
made before right now.
Yeah, it's been named the Indie Apocalypse by some
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Hmm. Excellent
Awesome.
question.
Well, Martin just had a question, so I'm going to drop down to Sean here.
Yeah.
Sean or Sen? I read that
Sen.
completely wrong, didn't I? It's not Sean
It's
at
Sen.
all.
All good.
It's Sen. Sen asks, what inspired you to make Abyssal and its environments?
Yeah.
Let's bring up a screenshot of Abyssal here real quick.
Yeah.
Um, so this is a game that exists within another game,
Mm. I would say
kind of.
it's on a platform. Roblox is
A
a platform,
platform.
not
Yeah.
a game.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know anything about Roblox, Roblox is YouTube but for games, right? So the
Oh,
ease of getting into a game, the ease of getting out of a game is the same as clicking on a YouTube video.
it might be
Um,
worth showing what typical Roblox game actually looks like before we
well, you
see
can.
Abyssal. Yeah.
It's it. Ugh.
If anyone has, I mean, let's have a
You know,
look. Roblox game.
they're kind of
Anime not bad, yes.
yeah. That's what a lot of them will look like. So when you see something like Abyssal, it's like what the hell? Like this looks like a Steam game, and it's because it's inequality, right? We're
Yeah,
trying
here
to
we go.
pursue
Here we
something
go.
different on the
Something like
platform.
this, right?
Yeah.
What's
Um,
the pizza game called?
Work at a pizza place.
Work. I mean,
And
it's
this
not.
work at a pizza place yeah,
eh,
it's really old. So it's got a lot of that classic look. So like this doesn't feel as bad as some of the other games, just because this is like what you could do back in, when this thing was getting
Right.
built up.
Okay.
Um,
But the point about Abyssal here, that having
mhm,
briefly looked into the world of Roblox
mhm,
myself, it like you were just mentioning, it feels like a finished product. It doesn't feel just like a throwaway
mhm,
5 minute smash a button and buy some gacha,
mhm.
which is
Items.
a lot of
Yep.
the things that actually
Mhm,
exist on Roblox. This feels like it feels like a game. It feels like a finished product, and I don't know how rare that is in the world of Roblox.
I would say it is to some degree. Like there's plenty of things that have polish, but I think that the feeling of what you're kind of hitting at is this kind of like this indie feeling, this kind of like very very different standout kind of feeling. It doesn't feel like other things on the
I mean,
platform.
there's a splash screen and stuff at the start. It's like
Yeah.
there's a bit of narrative. It leads you in. It's
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, onto
And
the question then. What inspired you to
mhm.
make it and its environments?
Yeah. This is a question that's best answered by our level designer because Abyssal started as like him going off into a hole and then like building out the entire first level and then just being like, all right, here guys, I want to make this. Like this is
Mm,
the aesthetic, this is the tone, right? Um so obviously like he's gonna have the real inspiration. But for us it was like we wanted to have some sort of continuation from like Journey to the Sun and then also like try out a bunch of new things. For me, I got to experiment a lot with like, okay, what happens if we don't put the items in a store and we just put the store in the world, right? So you go and find all the cosmetics in game in specific locations and you unlock them yourself. And so it's kind of this interesting way of like instead of just trying to like shove microtransactions down everyone's throats, it's like
mm,
play the game, explore, and go find it what you're looking for, right?
mm.
It gives more of that collectathon vibe. I think that's pretty important. Um, and I think for us, like, and I'll mention that like it's been growing from what used to just be a platformer into like its own like MMO, like
Hmm.
almost because this whole thing is networked and multiplayer. So it's
Hmm.
really cool to kind of see like how the industry, like how we're able to like kind of grow this game up and scale it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so there's probably a better answer for that, but I think my level designer would give a better one.
cool.
Yeah.
Like it.
Hmm.
Back into it.
Let's do it.
Let me just make sure that I cross these ones off. Oops.
Mhm.
Why is that not working? Maya. So game dev.
Yeah.
How does one make a game? That's a big
A little bit of a loaded
question.
question. Um, I'll just tell you that you just got to start. You have to start.
There we go. Yeah.
So there is a really cool YouTuber who's also kind of does similar stuff. His name is Thor from Pirate Software. Like that's his thing. He does indie games now. Used to work at Blizzard. Bunch of the same stuff. And I think that like I want to like steal one of his quotes and like one of the things that he did for his community was he did a little game jam where he just said like nobody has to make a game. We're all just going to make a game design document. Just flesh it out as best as we
Uh,
can. What will we do if we made the game? What tools would we use? What was the thing that would do,
mm,
how would we make it? What would we do about it? And then after that game jam ended, he's like, "All right, everyone, new game jam starts today, right now. Go make it. You can do
mm,
it. You just research everything. Like you know
mm,
the tools, you know what you would do. You've got the plan." And it turned out that like almost all of the people made the game. They
mm.
went and made games. They went from not making games to making games.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's something that's really important that I want to mention is like there's things like game jams going on all the time that are like really low scope. You can just get into it. You can just start learning your tools. You can go and give it a shot. Yes,
Look how
HIO.
many jams are on at the right now.
Whoa, whoa, that blew up a lot. I was
So
used to it
yeah.
being like a smaller amount. I haven't looked in a while. Holy cow.
Oh, it keeps going. Wow.
Oh yeah, because people will run it. They'll run games, and everyone can do this now, right? Um, there's even a 1993 Doom game jam of with 30 people right there. Like,
There it
so
is. Yeah.
yeah, so it's the kind of thing is that like, and then you can do it. So I think that I could tell you that like making games is like you gotta assemble a team or do all this stuff. Like, but I really want to stress the idea of like it like painting, right, is a skill that you don't learn unless you go and do it, right?
Mm,
You go to one of those places that's like you just gotta have like 3 beers while you paint, and they just tell you how to like paint something and give you like the Bob Ross attention. Like those places are successful because it gets people to paint. It gets people to go do the thing, right?
mm,
Instead of sitting here thinking about maybe doing it and then being like, oh, but it's too hard. So like I can't encourage anything any more than like
mm.
just starting, right?
Yeah.
Go make a design document and
Yeah.
figure out
Do a
like what would you
tutorial. Yeah.
right? Watch tutorials.
Mm,
Exactly.
mm,
Um, so I think it's just, easy to get into
mm.
in that regard.
As someone that has taught a lot of
Mhm,
language students, particularly students looking to learn
mhm,
Japanese, um, this leads into my next question. It's going to be a lovely segue, but
mhm,
uh, there seems to be this kind of it's almost like a
mhm,
paralysis of like studying wanting okay so again from
mhm.
wanting to
Yep.
study Japanese angle it's like oh I just need this textbook I'm going to buy this
Yep.
textbook then I'm going to start and then they buy that textbook and they're like actually I
Mhm,
need this other textbook then I'll start
mhm.
do you feel like there's any kind of like
Oh, 100%.
yeah and that for me
Mhm,
seems to be like people
mhm.
get stuck on well what engine should I do this in like do you
Yep.
think that's like a similar kind of issue
Mhm.
where I just need this one textbook but it's like I don't know
Yeah.
which engine to choose do you think it's a
There's
similar thing or...
I can't remember who it was. I think it was like the guy who made Nerd Fitness had a blog at one point where he talked
Nerd
about like
fitness?
yeah,
What?
the
Hang on.
under talking about a bunch of different things. But he talked about if that South Park episode where the underpants gnomes would collect the
This?
underpants. Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
Question mark, question mark, question mark, profit. Like you've seen that meme of something question mark, profit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think in this blog he like referred to like that specific mentality as like collecting underpants, right? Where it's like you're trying to find something that's going to go and get you to this next
Uh,
step to like maybe convince you to cross the barrier, but you will keep finding those new things
yeah,
because you
yeah.
still just have this question mark, question mark, question mark
Uh-huh.
in the middle
Mm,
of your goals, right? And so that's the thing is that like uh yeah, of course that tech book is going to help you, but
mm.
nothing's going to help you more than actually just starting,
And
failing,
finishing
falling
that
on your
textbook.
face.
Yeah.
Just not even finishing the textbook. Just get in there, right?
Yes,
Give
yes,
it a
yes, yes.
shot, right? Like that kind of thing.
So what engine
It's
do I choose then,
you
Cloudy?
should pick an engine that looks interesting to you.
Okay.
Like I think that like there's a lot of people who would say that like Pico 8 isn't a commercial engine, so there's no point in doing it. But it's like, damn it, if that appeals to you, go for it, right?
Somebody
Like
just said that the other day to Cloudy off camera. It was
yeah.
me.
Yeah, but the thing is that it doesn't matter that it's not commercial, right?
Yeah.
What matters is that you're making games. If you want to make commercial games, then you can
Mm,
make commercial games, but
mm.
like the learnings that you get in any
Yeah.
of these game engines are going to transfer to another one, right? So I would say something for an engine to choose, right? Um, I think if you're going from a programming standpoint, right,
Mm,
this is what I would recommend. Um, if you want to do the smallest, least amount of coding whatsoever,
mm.
pick an engine like Unreal or anything that's got some more like block-based interactive kind of coding,
Hell, you could
right?
even start with Scratch. Why not?
You can absolutely start with Scratch. I've made games in Scratch. If chat
Hey.
finds them, they can find them. They're still up. They're still up. It's embarrassing.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like it literally is just do it, right? If you want something that has more control and more programming, right? You can look into stuff like Unity and Godot. But the thing is like they're all like pretty good middle grounds, and there's enough tutorials and resources out there that like you can just get
Mm-mm.
started.
True.
So I think the biggest thing about picking an engine is just like honestly, like if you want my thoughts, like, and if you've got the time, just do some game jams in some of the engines and see like
Yeah,
what you
that's
like or
great.
what you don't,
I
right?
really like that.
It's the
Mm.
kind of thing where it's like learning one programming language doesn't prevent you from learning the others. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
skills that easily transfer to the other ones. So
Love it.
like pretty easy.
Okay. I'm gonna jump through these again real quick here. So,
Yeah.
what are some
Common
common
mistakes.
mistakes? Yeah, I don't know, like kind of a bit of a vague question, but
Yeah.
maybe you have
Here's what
some
I would say
ideas. Yeah.
is scoping up your project too big. So don't try and make an MMO immediately.
Shit, man, I'm gonna
Just
try and
go
make an MMO in Pico 8. Why not?
Don't. Just don't. If you're gonna, I'll tell you if you're gonna make an MMO, go make it on Roblox. That's the only
Ah,
reason that I would tell people to be on Roblox is because that is the only place that you can handle that kind of scale of networking
mm,
without having to deal with all of the server problems, account making, all that crap, right? Um, if you want to make something that's multiplayer, I would say Roblox is still probably one of the best platforms, if not the best, right now. Um, but I would say that like those the more multiplayer like that's what you really have to think about if you're trying to get network multiplayer.
yeah.
But I think yeah, scope creep is 100% like easiest mistake to make. Um, but I think that the other easy mistake is kind of just what I said, which is just like the not starting part, right? The not going for it, right? You're going to learn so much more from giving it a shot and
Yeah.
just completely fucking it up than
Mm.
you would by not starting at all, right?
That's
Every
quite a
single
that's quite a big mistake not starting, isn't it? Yeah.
no, yeah. But it's easy, right?
Yeah, I
You can
get it.
sit
Yeah.
there and just think about it all day,
Mm.
but if you don't give it a shot, don't even pop open the engine, don't try, you can never succeed,
Mm.
right?
What's it like being an indie dev?
Yeah, so I would say that as a
Because I
dev,
mean, as an indie dev for the past 3 years, right? You're all kind of
mhm,
new to indie deving, I guess.
mhm.
Or at least
I
this is your
I've
life now.
I've
So
I would say that like Fractal Fox counted as indie.
okay.
Um, so yeah, I would say that like it's not my first rodeo and I've shipped things before.
Mm.
Um, even just for game jams and stuff. Like you count as indie if you did anything,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So I'm the kind of person that's like, you're an artist as soon as you put the pen to the paper, right? Like
Mm.
you're not like, but like doesn't matter if you just drew, little smiley face like that. You made the step, you did it. Like
Yeah.
fuck that aspiring artist shit. Like I don't want to hear
Mm-mm.
the word aspiring coming out of your
Mm.
mouth
Mm.
because you're doing it. And if you're doing the thing, then you're not aspiring, you're doing it.
For
You are
sure.
the thing. Um, so it's like I would say that for me, the thing that I enjoy about indie compared to like AAA game development
Excellent. Yeah.
um,
Mm.
is a lot more control
Mm.
over the creative process. I don't have anybody from business being like, yeah, but we got to go and add this in because otherwise we're not going to hit our KPIs, right?
KPI?
Key performance indicators. Sorry, I'm speaking business sociopath right now. Um,
Wow.
but it's just the kind of thing that like you'll there's just a lot more like
Yeah.
complication because they have to go and figure out like how are we gonna keep the company paid and fed
Yeah.
next month. And then generally you'll have a lot of things that get lost in the details. When you're indie, you get to make the game. You just get
Yep.
to focus on making the game. Doesn't matter if nobody plays it. The act of creation was the important thing. You
Excellent.
putting it out there, you putting your heart
Mm.
out on the line
Mm.
is what matters, right?
Mm.
Um, so I think that that's the most important, like rewarding thing is that whenever I'm making something outside of the things that I have to do, right?
Mm.
Sometimes I have to bend to, what Roblox is going to do to give us the algorithm, performance. Sometimes I have to do some stupid marketing things if I want,
Yep.
right? There will be those kinds of touch points, but the amount of things that I have to do because people told me that I had to do them,
Mm.
is way reduced. And so generally I get to think about what's going to be the right path for me personally, and then figure that out and like how to go forward from there. So I really think that like doing indie, even if you're just doing it part time, like you have a day job and just make games in your free time, like
Mm.
that's ideal. That's really good because you just don't have anybody
Interesting.
telling you
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have anybody saying that we can't put in this emotional cutscene because the marketing hates it or something. Like,
Yeah.
nobody can give you an excuse. It's up to you
Hmm.
to do.
Take the
So
Starbucks logo off the door. Right.
yeah, take the Starbucks. Yeah.
End of the section here.
Hmm.
Proudest achievements.
Yeah. This is actually a
Or
really
do you
hard
want?
question for me
Let's leave
because
this to the end. Let's leave this to the very end.
okay, I could do that.
We'll save that one. That doesn't
Sounds
do
good.
that goes at the end. Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
that here. Boom.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
Break time. More
Yeah.
questions. Let's have a look. Oh, it's all Martin.
Let's do it. Thank you, Martin.
Let's see
To be
here.
fair, I did tell everyone in chat to be pretty quiet and respectful. So
Oh, it's
feel
okay.
free
Yeah.
to feel free to ask more questions if you guys
Silent G, I
think
recognize the
that's something
name
good.
here from the wiki, so clearly a big
Yeah.
fan of Bowdy and his work. So yeah, use this as a chance to grill him on
I'm a
anything you
I'm a
want.
big fan of Silent G
Oh,
too.
there
So
we go. Look at that.
yeah.
It's a bromance. Love it.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. What would your day dream project game? Ah, I've already got that in the questions. I've already got that in the
Yep. Well,
question.
I'll do it. I'll do
Um,
it.
you want
Do
to do
you
it
have much
now?
to
Oh,
work on?
go
So
for it.
so if you want to know the answer that's technically the most correct is drag and drop. That's what I want to make. That's a love letter from my heart. Um, actually answering your question, I'd like to work with Masahiro Sakurai on something.
Knew that was coming.
Um, the trailer. That's the trailer.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on. Keep going.
Um, so that's the thing that I was gonna say is that I will say that that's kind of a hesitation though because after meeting my heroes at Minecraft,
Ah,
you don't meet your heroes, right? Um, there's a lot that you can get disappointed by. So that's why like a lot of people thought that I moved out here to work for Nintendo. And I could, I know I could, but I
Should.
kind of don't want to see how the sausage is made there. I want to keep the sense of childlike wonder that I have for their games, and
Uh,
not, and I just don't want to cross that barrier,
uh,
right? If I can help it, because I think there's just a lot that's that. So uh, I think getting to see Masaru Sakurai's like video series that he made would
hmm,
have kind of checked that box for me of like, this is what I would have learned from working with him,
hmm.
and minus all of the like whatever character flaws that he has as a human being that would frustrate me or cause that. I get to keep my you know mental image, but yeah. But Drag and
This
Drop
the series is
is,
finished now as well, right? The Masahiro
yep, he
Sakurai.
just finished it. Yeah. I cried. It was great.
Uh,
Yep. Oh,
uh,
that is also a good question. The Martin's
Go
next
for it.
question.
You can ask it. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
answer whatever you like. This one?
So, as someone whose job is in games, have you ever felt a risk of losing passion of playing games just for fun? I would say yes. I think that there's a risk of it, because it's very. I'll tell you that there's like, it's not like a big concern, but there's a certain part of your brain and a certain part of your eyes that you can't turn off. It's the kind of thing where like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it,
Right, right.
right?
Mm.
So there's always a little bit of me that's like thinking like, oh, how do they do that? What do they do there? Oh, is that like a texture and they're just like
Mm-hmm.
rotating it, right? So like playing like older games, like I can like play like Metroid Prime and be like, wow, it's really cool what they're doing here, and like that
Yeah,
sort of
so
stuff.
the opposite is also true then, right? Because the more knowledge you've got, the
Hmm.
more amazing older things appear because well, considering the limitations on the technology back then, like Mode 7 stuff on this on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, it's like, well, this stuff is completely off the wall. Like the stuff that they were doing to like not just Mode 7, but to have that many sprites on the screen and to like,
Oh yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Like it kind of
Hmm.
an alternative way, then it kind of reignites that passion for like games. Like,
Hmm.
wow, I can actually understand this stuff now. I can see what they're doing there. Like, I can see behind the curtain, and it's amazing, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and so I think that there is a risk that you run of, but it's just the same kind of general like burnout risk.
Mm.
I think you need to just keep in mind that like when you're playing games for fun, you're playing them for fun, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and but I will say that like stuff like Minecraft, I can't play anymore. It's just like it's really hard for me to play because I know every time that something is bad, I know exactly why it was bad because I was in that meeting and they were fighting and we couldn't convince them to do something different, right?
yeah,
And so it's like that's the kind of thing that I would say is that like Minecraft's been mostly ruined for me. I can still play it,
yeah.
um, but it's like the the passion for it is gone because I know the problems way too closely. Um, but yeah, I've only the only person I've played Minecraft with since leaving is James, because specifically because it's Japanese language learning, and that's been good and comfy. So,
Hmm.
oh, also my chat members are telling me to stretch, so I will. Thank you.
We got a question here from Sen.
Yeah,
What's your
opinion
opinion
on
on? Yeah.
modern front page Roblox games. So I would say it is the same problem as modern front page YouTube, right? Where you're basically just going to have a bunch of things that are so generally trying to appeal to people, that they kind of lose a lot of their appeal to a lot of people. Um, and I think that you end up with this kind of like hyper generalized thing that has to like please everyone to the point of like almost like design sociopathy, where I think that like a lot of the times when we talk about design, when we talk about game design is inherently motivating players to play the game right in a way that has the most fun. And design is a sword, it's a knife, it's something that can be used to cut as well as a scalpel is used to save, right?
Mm.
And so you can get to the point where you can make Skinner boxes and things that are just designed to be brainworms to get people to give you money. And generally, the front page is going to show you a lot of things that have that sort of success. And that's why, like, for people like me, we want to make stuff like Abyssal. We want to make our own experiences that are not there to just be inherently business, but something that's culture and content at the same
Mm.
time.
So in
Um,
some, they're pretty shit.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, but they do a lot of things that are like,
Uh,
they have a lot of money put into it. They have a lot of talent, and people are working on these things.
yeah.
Um, so it's like I don't want to like dunk on people because I
Hmm.
know a lot of these devs who've
Mm,
done it,
mm.
and who have like popular games, and I would say there's a lot of things that they do that I can respect. Um,
But they're a bit generic.
not necessarily. I wouldn't say it's that. It's just more of like the some a game doesn't have to be good to get to the front page, how like a YouTube video doesn't have to be good to get millions of views,
So they
right?
are shit then.
I'm just saying that the possibility and the chance is high. I'm not trying to make any enemies here, Chief.
I know, I know, I
Like,
know, I know. Yeah, yeah. You're good. You're good. It's
hostile interview. Wow.
no, no, no. I'm looking for you're too much of a politician. What was I going to say?
Yeah.
Again, as a teacher,
Hmm.
it reminds me again of general
Hmm.
textbooks like Japanese
Hmm.
101. I mean, this is
Hmm.
where I was going with the generic
Yeah.
thing. It's like
Hmm.
it's designed for everybody, but
Hmm.
ends up not being interesting to anybody, right? Like,
Bingo.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's the exact same kind of problem. By the way, Martin, please don't be sorry for all the questions. Keep them coming. I love it. I'm so happy to talk. So.
All right, we're gonna go for about 10 more minutes. Sorry for keeping everybody on the line, but well, I'm having fun. You can go home if you
I'm having
like.
fun. Yeah, exactly. I don't mind going over a little bit, so
Yeah, sorry.
we're
Yeah,
all good.
we'll wrap it up in 10 minutes. I'm pretty good at timekeeping, but
Mhm.
we started a bit late as well. So,
Yeah.
so the last section is about education in games, really.
Mhm.
So that's what our
Mhm.
whole
Yeah.
society is about here. So, have you
Mhm.
had any good or any educational experiences with games that you'd like to tell us about? Or yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I played putt putt and everything
putt
back when I
putt
was a kid. Putt putt. Yeah.
putt putt.
All the like the learning games. It
Okay.
was basically I was growing up at the time that PCs were like, Windows 95, like people had PCs in their houses, right? And like
Yep.
software was starting to come out, so like Jumpstart, Math Blaster, like that
Oh,
kind of
okay. All
stuff,
right.
right? So I played those kinds of games growing up. Of course there was some amount of friction for educational games to some degree as a
Okay.
child. Go for it.
That's a great interest. It's an interesting
Mhm.
angle that you took there, right?
I know
Like,
that there's a different angle that I was going to get to it,
oh, okay, okay,
but
okay.
I wanted to start with just the very clear of like educational games, right?
Okay, okay,
Yes,
okay.
I played all of those.
Gotcha.
Um, And then I would say that almost everything else that I played, every Nintendo game that my
Yeah, okay.
parents let me play, every single MMO that my parents let me play, right? Like mom and dad let me go and get scammed out of all my armor on RuneScape, and that was an incredibly important foundational experience for me. Having somebody steal my account, right? I learned about those things in a context that did not cost me really anything other than my time,
Hmm.
right? So when it comes time to be a big boy in the big world, I already
Mm.
know what's too good to be true to some degree, right?
Right,
I'm
right,
much more
right.
resilient to that. So even just that, even just letting your kids go to the danger zone and having, some amount of like controlled online experience. Obviously,
Mm.
there's plenty of predators and stuff out there. So like obviously not trying to say like that's good, throw them in with the sharks. But I'm
Mm,
saying like even throwing it in with like other peers and
mm,
like,
mm.
on Roblox, like games
I
that
was
have
gonna say
trading,
front page
have lots
Roadblock
of
seems like a great place for this, you know.
oh God, yeah. No, but it's
You
like
don't have to say
going
it.
yeah. What I want what I'm really trying to get at is like
Yeah.
even the games that have trading that kids can scam other kids out of
Uh-huh.
their hard-earned whatever,
Mm,
right? Like I can't even say that those were like they sucked. They were bad experiences. They made me upset,
mm.
but I learned from that, right?
Right.
So that's like one angle of like I learned real life skills even when I was having a really bad time.
Right, right,
And
right.
then
Mm.
third final angle is I learned game design by playing all of these games and thinking how I liked them, what
Yep, yep.
made me like them. So the reason that I'm good inherently, like not not inherently, I mean more of like I going into I didn't have to learn game design.
Mm.
I already had like a bunch of intuition on it because I'd played so
Right,
many
exactly.
good
Yeah.
Nintendo games and I just needed somebody to go and point out
Yeah.
this is why it felt good.
Mm.
And it was like I already knew that. I already
Yep.
knew that on some sort of subconscious level, and all I needed was an educator to kind of bring it to the forefront to me.
Right, right, right.
That's
Yeah,
why
that totally
why
makes sense. Mm.
so much like some of the Sakurai videos, like I
Hmm.
mentioned. I won't stop talking about them because it's great if you ever, even if you're just a like voyeur into game design and want to
Mm,
just see like, hey, what is this all about?
mm.
All of his videos are really, really approachable, and a lot of them for me were just I knew that because I played your game and I played your work and I picked that up just from seeing that. Um,
Awesome.
so I think games are amazing for education.
Mm,
And I think that they absolutely belong in the classroom because it's something that's the kind of thing that creates, you know, games are amazing at getting engagement out of players, right?
mm,
And the same thing goes for students when it's like, yeah, and this is like the biggest thing that I loved about working on Minecraft Education Edition
mm,
was when we were doing it right, right, I could very confidently say that we were making a game that helped teach hard to grasp subjects in a
hmm.
way that students were motivated to go and find, right? You
Yep.
know, suddenly teaching about areas and geometry and trying to see like how many square meters is this is so much easier when I can say 3 blocks, 5 blocks. Oh, look,
Mm-hmm.
how many blocks did we use to fill this in?
Yep.
Right? Like immediately, way, way more easy, super engaging. Like the kids can grasp it immediately because it's so visual.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I,
For sure, yeah. I was going to
yeah,
say, yeah. So I think what you're touching on there is the idea of like games being
hmm
more condensed
hmm
versions or of more complex topics
hmm
and stuff as well, right?
yes,
So
yep,
you can play with that again, using the playground terminology. You can play with that to figure out like the larger real
hmm
life examples of it in this smaller simulation in the sand pit, right? That's
hmm
a good way that games can be used in education for sure. Yeah. All right. Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to move straight on to how
hmm
about making educational games?
yeah. Um, yes, I do have experience making educational games.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that I think. This is a little bit loaded for me because it's like almost all of my gripes with Minecraft Education Edition as a product
Uh-huh.
are all because it was tied to business things,
Huh.
right? It
Mm.
was like they're just Minecraft just has this very big like we're number one, we're like Minecraft is inherently positive and good and perfect because it's the number one game, so why
Yeah.
would any of that be wrong? Like that ended up turning a blind eye to a lot of like questions that really needed to be done. Like people needed to go and still examine the game and say like, how could we make it better? Doesn't matter
Mm.
that it's number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so a lot of like my issues with it as like an educational tool were because there were a lot of things that we just fundamentally didn't do better than I think that we could have,
Mm.
because there's so much that you could learn from you know, like just making the gameplay better and trying to figure out like making gameplay for specific teachers and making it for specific lessons and adding in these kinds of,
Yeah.
this
It
this
sounds like you
content.
need like a pedagogy specialist or like a teaching specialist to kind of
Yeah,
help.
and you need those things to be unblocked from what's going to get this into more classrooms because that's if when you give people easy targets of like what's good,
Mm.
they're going to, idolize those and worship them. So I think that educational games are really good, right? And they have a lot of power. Um, but I'm not sure if like what's going to be like, I think that of the ones that I've seen, I think that the ones that do it best are the ones that focus so much on the how are we actually teaching this thing? How am I making it so that this concept is understandable?
Mm.
Um, as the North Star. You can't have anything else as the North Star. It has to be, you know, this is the education, right? And
The
you
content,
experience
yeah.
the same
Mm.
things, right?
Mm.
Where it's like if teachers make exam scores, standardized test scores, their North Star, they will fail to do the most effective teaching. They will target towards that,
Yep.
teaching to the test, that kind of thing. So I think that's mostly what I'm trying to get at is that like the
Yep.
best games for education are the ones that keep the education as an end. All of this is just a means to an end of educating the individuals.
Hmm.
Those are the ones that do it best.
Fair enough. Fair enough,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Um, yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna skip this question. I don't think we got time for it, but
Okay.
I'm gonna skip this one too. You've already made Minecraft education. That's enough.
Yeah. If you want my
Okay.
answer to that real quick, it
Yeah,
just
sure.
would be I'd make something for programming. I think
Okay.
programming education, computer science education is just woefully like there's just so much. there's a lot of like investment going into it, but I think that there's a lot of easy problems because people don't teach computer science in a way that's easy to understand.
Mm,
And just my experiences teaching at Temple University, like that's been
mm,
I feel like it's like, you
mm.
just have to get the material in a way that people can understand.
Yeah.
And there's just too many like hand wavy professors. So I
It's like
think that that's
a total flip side of that then is using
Mhm,
games to learn
mhm,
about computer science or
mhm,
making a game. So yeah, the flip side of it is
mhm,
well, it's a little
mhm,
bit of a tangent, but when I
mhm,
was working at a previous university, they had a computer science department, and I asked them, why don't you get students to make video games? Because
mhm,
then they'll learn how to program, they'll learn about
mhm,
art, they'll learn about sound, they'll learn about marketing, localization,
mhm.
whatever you want. They can like learn so many skills. And they
Yeah,
were like, no, this is a serious university. We learn about
yeah,
CPUs and GPUs and how they fit together and sorting algorithms. This is a university, James. I was just
yeah.
like,
And
okay.
they can go and
Yeah. Anyway.
I have a lot of choice words for that.
All
I'm choosing to not say anything at all.
right, last question from me before we hand it back over to you guys. Proudest achievements, man.
Yeah. Shoot.
Do you want me to give you some proud achievements?
I mean there's a lot,
Yeah,
right? In the
right.
sense of like I don't think I have anything that like I can point at things. I can point at winning the Comic Award for Drag and Drop. I can point at going to Japan in 2.5 years, you know, in like 1 year,
Mm,
going and getting ready to build a company up, and then
yeah.
like by year two, I already like had the whole thing set up. Like, I can like point at this kind of stuff, but it's just like it's not the real thing. The thing that's my North Star is putting smiles on people's faces, right?
Hey.
Like making it so that people are able to escape their whatever situation's going on in life, whatever it's like, to be able to put all that aside for a couple of minutes and play a game that makes them happy.
Hmm.
Um, so I think like the only real correct answer to this is that my community is my proudest achievement. The fact
Excellent.
that there's a bunch of people here who uh, I've been able to touch their lives and they touch mine, and
Hmm.
it's that's I can't really think of anything that matters more to me than that. Um,
Best answer. Love it.
yeah.
And on that wonderful note, I see. Oh, we've got two. Well, we've got three more questions.
Mhm. Let's do it.
Let's go with them. We'll go Martin, send Martin. How about that? There we go.
Sounds
And
good.
then we got people that have not written on here, maybe turned up a bit late. If you've got a question, throw it into the Zoom chat or something.
Hmm.
Martin asks, since becoming a developer, what has been the biggest surprise for you about this kind of work?
Um, I'll tell you, everything is hard and everything sucks to some degree. Like, some of the there's a lot of easy problems that are really, really hard, and a lot of hard problems that are really, really easy.
Hmm,
Making, for example, making time slow down, like a slow down effect
hmm.
in a game is actually really easy. Games run, they
Yeah,
update
okay.
once every 60 seconds. If
Yeah.
you program your game right, you could actually just start lying to your game and be like, actually, it's not been one
Hmm,
sixtieth of a second, it's been 1/4 of a second, right?
hmm,
And the computer's just like, oh no, I got to run this function as though it was that. So like doing
hmm,
slowdown effects, something, we don't have control of like slowing down time, but like that's actually really easy in
hmm,
computer land. Um, on the opposite side,
hmm.
UI. UI sucks. UI is everywhere. It is one of those thankless problems in game design and design in general, where, you only notice a door when it doesn't open the way that it's supposed to,
Hmm.
right? Um, and
What about like
so
moving platforms? I heard that's supposed to be a bit of a pain.
yeah, because you have to get like this guy has to get physics updates, right? But
Yeah.
can't be like glued to the platform specifically, because then it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare. Um, so
Okay.
uh,
Sen asks, are there any Roblox games that you can definitely recommend?
yes, I can. Other than Abyssal and any of the other ones that we've done, I would say stuff like Boost Vector and Neon Knights by the Blockage team are amazing. I would also say that the Roblox game that I've played the most is Bee Swarm Simulator. I lost
Beast
8 hours of
Form
my life.
Simulator.
Bee Swarm, a
Bee
swarm of
Swarm.
bees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, That's one that I liked a lot. And then recently there have been a lot of like smaller indie titles that are like doing way better than the Roblox engine even like deserves, where it's like people are making like Mario Odyssey feeling games in it. I
Oh.
think that one's like I can't remember the name of it, but I just keep
Mm.
seeing like every once in a while like lots of like really small like labors of love on the platform.
Hmm.
But they're like really well done. Um, so excellent question. Yeah.
Final question for Martin. Do you
Mhm.
see much crossover between digital game development and analog physical game design development?
Absolutely. There's tons. And there's also one more question in the chat, I think, as
I
well.
got it. Yeah, I got it.
Just
Yeah.
really, okay, sweet. And then I would say for this question, so 100%. When you think about a game, right? When I mention more of kind of that like design in general, right? A good game should have players feel motivated to like learn the game, and then when they're playing the game they should be playing it in a way that's like the most fun based on that good design, right?
Mm,
um I know that serious games have a bit of a different thing, but like they're trying to go for some sort of goal. um and I think that the ideas and rules of design, the same that you see for like why do I grab a bottle like this right here because my it's made a special indent for my fingers, right? Like this is the designer's way to hold it. This is the right way to hold it. That's the most comfortable, the most thing, right? Think of a mug, right?
mm.
You generally try and grab the mug by the handle. Um, all of the rules of design still
Interesting.
apply in all of those things. And I think that anything that you see as like board game design, right? A lot of the like good game design will exist
Mm,
in board game design, and you'll be able to take at least 70 to 80% of that learnage and take it into another market. You're generally
mm,
just learning like the extra 20% of like what works here, what doesn't, right?
mm,
Console games are different from Roblox, are different from mobile games, are different from, web games, like all of that. And all those are different from board games, and those are different from playground games, right?
mm,
But what makes tag fun,
mm,
onigoko, right, as
mm.
a game is inherently like that's still like game say, like game essence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Game feel.
And there's a lot of stuff in there. I would say it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
Like
true,
the
true, true. Yeah, yeah.
game feels more of the like like
Juice.
like how, yeah, the juice, exactly. Um, so when you think about that, right? When you think about those things, like the game essence, the heart of the game, right?
Mm,
Um, is there. This is why this is a little bit too big of a topic to get into, but I'll just briefly touch on it. I think most sports, especially team sports, are terrible games because almost if you think of soccer, like how much of the game is the goalie having fun? And it's like only when they're getting the ball kicked at them, right? And so it's like that guy's not having fun. He's just kind of
mm,
watching things, and like he only gets to play for like this amount of time, and generally it's kind of stressful for him, right? So when you think about that, I would say that like this is not, like sports about competition,
mm.
games are about fun. They don't have to be about fun, but like those are just talking at like a big high category.
Gotcha.
Um, and so I think that the learnings, like you could ask somebody to make soccer more fun,
Mm.
and you would be able to apply a lot of the things that you've learned about board games and a lot of things that you've learned about any other kind of game. That kind of ludic, is it pedagogy would be the right
Ludic
way to say it,
pedagogy. Yeah, pedagogy is like
right? Like
teaching essentially. Yeah.
all those things that you're learning
Mm,
you know, about play,
mm.
right, will transfer over to all of those.
Yeah.
So I think that's that core and that essence that I think is
They're
really
on the same
important.
family tree essentially, therefore there's
Bingo.
crossover. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Great question. Love it.
Sweet. We got a final question then. This is probably
Mhm,
one that might take a few minutes to answer, but yeah.
mhm.
Is game development only a young man's game?
Awesome question. So I will say that as a young man, I no, it's not. And we as an industry need way more people from way different backgrounds. A lot of this issue in general, and if you want me to like, and kind of like, I'm not researched on this, but I can kind of go and point at like the time when back it's like the 70s or 60s or something, when marketers decided that computers were for boys and not for girls, right? And that they had to go into the boy toy
Hmm.
aisle, right? Almost all of the like, there's so many fundamental and pivotal women in computer science way back in history,
Mm.
right? Like almost there's so many so many people who did so many amazing things that got the industry even to where it was, right? And so you have this issue where like arbitrary decisions that a bunch of marketing people made or that people pushed for, pushing their boys towards engineering and pushing their girls in different directions, right? Like you still have a lot of this baggage, right? And I would say that like yes, you have this problem with computer science industry being incredibly male dominated sausage fest kind of problem. Um, but I think that that is absolutely not true. I think that when I look at some of the games that I love, I see a lot of trans creators. I see a lot of female creators. I see non-binary creators, right? It's like everyone needs to be in there because you're going to get way better games from
Yeah, yeah.
having more people and people from more backgrounds.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
I think that yes, the industry is traditionally dominated by young men right now to some
Mm.
degree. They're
Mm.
dominated by men because that's the way that society has been pushing things. And I want to be on the team of people trying to break that down and
Mm.
break that stereotype because it's not helping us.
Yeah, I mean,
If
you
you
talked
look at
earlier about sorry to cut you off.
go for it.
You talked earlier about the barrier to entry being lower, and then
Mhm.
so more people are
Yes.
making games now.
Oh
So
my gosh, yeah.
yeah,
I had
um,
an interview like about a year ago with a woman who did like Cute Games Club and she shipped her own game and it's just
mhm.
like I loved like seeing what she'd made and just being able to like talk about that. It just was like she had perspective that I didn't and I had perspective that she didn't and it was just great. Like we need more people in the industry and I think that trying to gatekeep it towards any one thing
Mm.
um has made it so that we have you know the future where we solve this problem is going to be way brighter and you can see it in indie because if you
Mm.
look at the indie space nobody's saying oh I'd between these two candidates I'd rather work with a boy,
Mm.
right? You see people just making their damn games and
Yeah.
they put them out there and they're better and they find niches on the market that weren't there,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm.
So that's what I really want to highlight is that when you look at the indie game development space, you're
Yep.
seeing people from all different walks of life,
Mm.
that lowered barrier to entry, just making things. They just
Yep.
are making exactly what they want to, and the games industry is 100% better, 200% better for it. So,
There we
yeah.
go. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm. Excellent question. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that wraps up all the questions. We went about 10 minutes over.
Yeah, it's great though. I had fun.
I'm going to end the recording here in a moment. Cloudy, thank you so much for joining us for LLP Live number 4. I had a great time. I'm sure, I mean, you could probably speak for another hour.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up here. And we'll put the video up on YouTube and you can share it with your community and stuff so they can see more about you as
Mhm.
well. And I'll share the document with people too. So
Yeah, would love it.
from me, again, thank you everyone that joined. And Cloudy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, busy schedule. I know that you were working right up until the start of this meeting. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
But it's my
And
pleasure. Love doing it.
we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.